Unhand them, you foul Sith! Hey! Oh. Hey. Squirrel! This quarantine's a heck of a drug, kids. But you know, this does kind of put me in mind of something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and obviously that's Star Wars. Star Wars is arguably the biggest sci-fi franchise in history. I know some things like Avatar have had, really big impact and really huge fandoms, but prior to Star Wars, there had been nothing else like it ever done. I think in this video, I'm going to primarily go over the first movie. Number 4, A New Hope. In 1977, a then pretty much unknown director named George Lucas, who had just done a couple of small projects before that, released this film. And admittedly, at first it got kind of middling reviews. But people lined up around the block to see this. I mean, it took the world by storm. There was these guys who worked for my dad, and they each bought like 15, 18 tickets a piece. Some theaters were running it 24 hours a day. We lost them for almost 2 days because they just sat there, watching the movie over and over and over again. Movie'd show, they'd clean the theater, another group would come in. It was amazing. Yeah, there had been other films like Forbidden Planet or The Day the Earth Stood Still. And yeah, we'd had TV shows like Star Trek and Lost in Space and, nothing. The film just sort of took a hold of the world and hasn't let go for 44 years. Now, in case you don't know, and I can't figure out why, if you're still watching my channel, you don't know what Star Wars is. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. But in case you don't know, for some reason, Star Wars has been called kind of a World War II movie set in outer space, where the rebels are kind of the de facto allies, and the Empire is the German soldiers that we're not allowed to name. Are we the baddies? And yes, it's kind of the traditional hero's journey of, a young boy finds out that he is basically a chosen one and sets off on this journey. But the thing is, I personally think that the draw, the main thing in Star Wars is right there in the beginning of the film, in that first line. And for those of you who don't know Star Wars, you're probably in the dark, but I'm willing to bet that the rest of you know what I'm talking about. So if you do, go ahead and sing along with me, okay? A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. See, because I think that's the thing of it. When you look at almost any other sci-fi film that came out before that, it's the future. I mean, that's what sci-fi is, right? The Day the Earth Stood Still. Aliens come down to tell us that nuclear weapons are bad. Fantastic. I keep on to call it Forbidden Planet, or I keep on to call it Fantastic Planet. Pardon me. That's a whole different movie. Trust me. But no, Forbidden Planet. The whatever the current Space Force, Air Force, military government is going off to this other world that used to be inhabited by aliens. And well, if you ever want to know what the United Nations and the Navy looks like in 300 or 500 years, well, that's essentially Star Trek. And I believe in at least the first couple episodes of Lost in Space, everything has been slathered with this USAF, United States Air Force, logo, because it was the height of the space race. Well, then it all kind of died down a little bit, and it was time to get back into some serious science fiction. And to me, Now, I was a little kid, but I will pull my geek cred and say I saw Star Wars: A New Hope in the theaters, which for some reason I went to go see with my mom and my grandma. I don't know how that worked out, but it was kind of awkward. But I saw that film, and I was enraptured by it. Because I'd seen sci-fi, plenty of Saturday morning stuff, and plenty of sci-fi movies and TV shows and things like that. But watching Star Wars was, I guess the word here that we use a lot for these kinds of things is immersion. That it takes you away from yourself. It takes you away from the world you're in. The escapism, like I was saying in the other video, but in this case, it is putting you wholeheartedly, they do give you some history in the title crawl, about the evil galactic empire and the rebels and that. But there's so many things throughout the film, and even those simple words, a long time ago. Well, that's not the future. Sci-fi is the future, right? Where we have flying cars and food pills and, robot housekeepers and stuff. This was a long time ago. Huh. Are we the descendants of the people in Star Wars? I know they use that as the hook in Battlestar Galactica, and I want to do a whole video on Battlestar Galactica, but, me and my friends kind of wondered about this, at the ripe old age of 7. Having conversations about it, but a long time ago, it's already happened. It's already done. We don't know if it's 1,000 years, 100 years, last year, and it's a galaxy far, far away. So the rules are kind of thrown out the window. Yeah, there's some similarities. A land speeder kind of looks like a car. An X-wing is a fighter ship or fighter plane. Whether that's because they wanted to give us some kind of hook to bring us in and give us some things to recognize, or the fact that cars are generally car shaped. When it comes down to it, it's a thing you sit in. Your house may be underground ex-opal mine full of blue milk, but a house is still basically a house. It's a big box where you keep your stuff. If you ask George Carlin. We got more stuff. Got to get a bigger box to put it in, kind of thing. And so some of it, it may just be the ease of the creation of it, but, humans were just a very small part. In Day of the Earth Stood Still, the aliens, Klaatu comes to us, and, and of course there's the big guardian robot, but they look like us. But they tell you they're aliens. The monster in Forbidden Planet, that really cool animated bull thing that's knocking stuff over, the invisible footprints, but obviously it's, big and crazy, and, but it's definitely other. Star Wars didn't kind of have that. It was full of robots, droids, and all these different aliens, but, it was just like going to the market. Mos Eisley was just any other city. And humans were just a small part of that. We'd kind of wondered at the time, are they humans, people like us? Or in Doctor Who, Gallifreyans, they only look human. And every chance the doctor gets, he'll tell you he's got 2 hearts and, 8 spleens or, whatever the other differences are. But, what's going on? And they give you little snippets and ideas, and some things you pick up in context, like I said, but, the film just kind of starts hitting you with stuff. Okay, there's an empire. Okay, and at one point, there was the Old Republic, and the Empire did something to the Old Republic, and now they're rebels. What exactly that was, obviously it was a war or something, and now there's an emperor, and not the good one. So, why? How did that happen? We don't know. And they keep teasing you with things. When you first meet Obi-Wan, when Luke first meets Obi-Wan after he rescues him in the desert, he mentions Jedi Knights. I was a Jedi Knight, like your father. What's a Jedi Knight? In 1977, we'd never heard. Fun fact, before 1977, no one had ever heard of a Jedi. And yeah, Lucas pulled, just like he pulled works from like Kurosawa and whatnot, a lot of these films to make Star Wars. Yeah, he pulled a lot of samurai and Buddhist philosophy and whatnot, but those were not really popularly spoken about things in 1977. And so it was like, what is this? And we get the idea, and of course now, a Jedi, it's a space wizard with a laser sword. Oh yeah, okay, we know that, but at the time, who knew? And he talks about, I fought along with your father in the Clone Wars. There was a war with clones? I mean, were we fighting the clones? Were we defending the clones? Were the clones fighting with us? I mean, your name, OB1. Are you a clone? I mean, seriously, I had that discussion with some friends of mine. Were the Jedi's clones? We didn't know. Who knew, right? And wouldn't know for about another 20 years or so. But it gave you all these tantalizing little hints that there was a lot more going on there than there was, and most of the time, things are, with the possible exception of Star Trek, in a lot of cases, people are very into laying things out for you so you understand how their faster than light drive works, or why they don't have ray guns and they're still using bullets, or whatever. Star Trek is the opposite of that. Roddenberry had an axiom about people don't really walk around today explaining how a diesel engine works, just kind of randomly. You just expect it to work, and if it doesn't work, you take it to a mechanic. And that's kind of how he felt about the technology in a lot of Star Trek. And there's very much that feeling in Star Wars that, hey, this is just the world, man. Just like you're tuning into any war movie. They don't sit around in what was that Black Sheep Squadron movie of TV show of Robert Conrad. They don't sit around for the most part talking about how their planes worked. They just go out there, fly, and they're doing their thing. And that by itself, it would seem like it's kind of lazy, like, they just kind of expect you to pick it up. But the way Lucas managed to pull it off, it was really cool. Like, am I supposed to know about this, or am I not, or what? But the thing of it was that it was world building. World building was something we kind of hadn't seen before. I mean, maybe a little bit if you go back to like Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, but even that was still kind of just vague. They were others, and they were bad, and we have to fight them. Not is just another aspect of the world that that the characters are currently living in, and they just have to do something about it. Most people on Tatooine probably didn't really care that much about the Empire or the Rebels. They were just trying to, they probably cared more about Jabba, to be honest. But they're trying to eke out their lives, hoping that tomorrow is basically just like yesterday, until someone comes along and messes it up. And that's kind of where the movie takes off. The characters. To an extent, we'd seen them before. Luke obviously is the chosen one hero, although gotta kind of admit, that first movie, Luke was kind of annoying. I mean, he was, he was this whiny kid, but I want to go to Tashi Station, only took, 60 years for that to come around. But, we'd seen dashing rogues like Han, and we'd seen, not so many, but a few strong princesses, but it was kind of the way it all sort of came together again. Like I always say, bringing it back around, that, it just sort of picked you up and carried you along with it. And the fact that even this amazing stuff, I mean, laser guns are shooting, and swords and knights and space battles and all that, it just, even though this amazing stuff was going on, it's just part of the story. Which in this weird way, it wasn't like, now we must go into space in our amazing spaceships and have the amazing space battles. No, it's just how we fight. There's space battle, and there's land battle, and there's gun battle, and okay. And like I said, it was the immersion factor of it. So, especially, I will admit, I was a little kid when I saw the first one. And so it did captivate me. But because I could sit there and watch and pick out all these weird little details, you know, the now that I look back on it, it's actually kind of morbid. The scene where they're in the crawler, you know, and there's all the junk droids that were just pieces of the other droids that the special effects crews kind of chucked around in corners, you know. But it's just like, oh, I picked out a piece of that droid. Oh, and that droid. Oh, that droid looks cool, and you know, and dismembered. But you know, later on, you know, when they're in Mos Eisley and there's just some speeder car thing just parked there, you know, and you're like, oh, hey, that's someone's car. They just left, you know, outside the grocery store or whatever, you know. That's what made it cool. The background of it. Not only what's going on in the foreground and what the characters are doing and the struggles they're having, but the fact that there's a world here. And I know it wasn't just me, because, I mean, Star Wars, man. You know, it wasn't just me. Come on, admit it. You know, you've seen it a couple times. Or at least you know enough about it to lie about seeing it a couple times. But I think that's what grabbed people. I think that is what made Star Wars truly amazing. I won't say ahead of its time. I think it arrived at just the right time because the effects were there. They held up. They were good, and they still hold up. Little side note. I don't know if anyone else did this, but when I was a little kid, I was a real little kid, and after we saw it the first time in the theater, the little movie theater kind of near our house out in Missouri, they showed it like every weekend. So if I was a good kid, ate all my vegetables and, you know, did all my homework and stuff, we would go see Star Wars. Like, I think it was a Friday night or Saturday night. So I saw it another 4 or 5 times, maybe more, and you know, that. But as a real little kid, there was a place in the you know, in the seats, not all the way up front, kind of that first section, you know, is down there, middle of that. If you could find the right seat, you know, you're sort of staring up at it, and you sort of unfocus your eyes, and that scene where they're going along and Luke drops into the trench. I think it was Panaflex, the system they actually invented for doing that shot. But if you did it just right, maybe this is just me, I don't know, maybe I'm weird, but I could feel that drop in my stomach. Like you're in an elevator or a roller coaster, it's that woo for a second. You know, I look forward to that. That was really cool. But anyway, sorry, I'll bring it back around. But again, you know, like I said, that they're possibly, you know, I don't want to say attention to detail, because I'm sure if you look and you start nitpicking it, you're going to find, oh, that's just a, you know, a block with little white up things on it, whatever. But the fact that there was so much there was so much going on. The evil stormtroopers and the you know, all the rebel pilots in the base, and I was like, wow, these guys have uniforms and stuff, you know. This isn't, you know, like a ragtag, you know, we're getting, a lot of them, you know, got the same orange jumpsuit and whatnot. They all went to the same rebel store and got it, you know, someone got a lot of military surplus. But the fact, you know, it's all the things in the background, all the things going on, the characters, and no one, because again, the wow factor that's in a lot of, especially watch a lot of 50s sci-fi, where like, we are preparing for the jump to Planet X. Everyone, strap in your space seatbelts. Get ready to initiate the space drive. And they all go, whoa. You know, it was none of that. You know, just like, yeah, man, I'm going to go down to the store and pick up some blue milk. You want some blue milk? Okay, I'll get in the land speeder. Okay, can I borrow the speeder? Cool. You know, off you go. And in the speeder, yeah, you know, blue milk. Good. All right. But again, it was the mixing of those. I know. I keep going back over this. I'm sorry. But it was the mixing of those elements, the really odd and the fantastic, honestly, with the kind of mundane. We really hadn't seen world building. If you watch, I keep referencing it, Forbidden Planet. They give you a little bit. It's the future and the Air Force. They found this planet and And they hit, admittedly, they do also hint at a lot of stuff in that film. There's an alien race that built this thing that makes your thoughts solid, and it killed them and whatever. But enough to kind of tease you. But still, that was, oh, we found this cool thing, this amazing thing, and oh, you know, you gotta, you know, go check out the amazing thing. And these are like hey man, there's bad stuff going on. Literally, it's World War II. There's bad stuff going on out there. We got to go deal with it. Han doesn't want to deal with it. He's the ones that get paid. But, in the end, he kind of comes around, and great, kid, let's blow this thing and go home, or, whatever the line there is. And again, obviously the performances, Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, everybody, Alec Guinness. If you go back and watch interviews with them, most of them are like, we kind of had no idea what we were getting into. It's sci-fi, and what's this okay stuff, and and they didn't know what most of it was. But they pulled it off really, really well. And the thing is, watching it, and again, also the fact that, and I keep saying that media worked different back then. I remember playing a few times on TV, once every year or two. We're going to show Star Wars on TV, up until, Empire came out and then Return, and by that point we were in the cable TV era, but it wasn't that you had to edit it very much. It wasn't like swearing in it or, anything crazy, but I think they edited it for time more than anything else. A few people who were lucky enough to, have a copy of the movie somehow. Obviously Laserdisc didn't come along, for a little while, but a few people had, actual film of it or, whatever. And of course, we had the Christmas special, the holiday special, Happy Life Day. Think about this for a minute, okay? And I'm sure there's people like, I might even do a holiday special video because the Lord knows everyone else has done one. But think about this. The holiday special aired one time, one night, okay, across the country. And afterwards, the story goes that Lucas was so embarrassed by it that he bought up all the copies and had them burned. Which is why in the White Nerdy video, Weird Al's character is going down, doing, getting a brown bag, handing money, he pulls out, and say, it's a Christmas special, yay, But there is copies, obviously, because people, like I said, have done videos about it. You can go watch it right now on YouTube or wherever, But in 78, I think it was when it came out, 78, 79, how many people in the country had access to VCRs? And of that very small number of people, how many were Star Wars fans enough to use their not very common VCR to tape this? I've heard that among collectors, there's actually a difference between, there's like 4 or 5, you have the Chicago version, I've got the Wisconsin version, I've got the, whatever. You can tell by the station breaks and the commercials that it plays, stuff like that. But the fact that, this one's slightly better quality because this guy had a slightly better, or the tape was better, or whatever on his. But that there's going to be that subset of people, and that's still existing today. And trust me, if you haven't seen it, it is horrible, and if nothing else, it's just really slow and kind of weird, and I don't think anybody really wanted to be in it. But they decided Star Wars was so popular. Mark Hamill appearing on the Muppet Show, and I'm like the only person who remembers this. So if you remember this, throw me something in the comments. But they did a fake award show where they all gave each other, awards for best on-screen death. I think Porkins won that one or something, and best lightsaber, whatever. It's something they put on, a little promotional thing. These kind of weird specials, primetime specials, were kind of a thing that happened in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I swear, I'm like the only person who remembers that. I'm having this weird Mandela moment about it. No one else seems to remember it. But at any rate, like I said, it was everywhere. Really quick. People were talking about it. The water cooler talk, like they say, and people were writing articles about it, and and people would wait for it to come on TV and then just record the audio, because that's all they didn't have video, obviously. They record the audio just to listen to. I mean, how crazy is that? And of course, there were comic books. I believe Marvel Comics did a 15 or 30 issue run. there were a few novels that came out before the expanded universe became a thing, but the toys, which I heard came out in '78, so maybe there was a little, shift between the two. But I remember seeing, I can't remember if it was Grandpa Pigeons or Kmart. They're both very similar stores, but going in and seeing Star Wars toys. And I don't think I'd ever seen toys for a movie like that. G.I. Joe didn't have a cartoon yet. It was just G.I. Joe. Barbie, whatever. Maybe a couple little promotional things, but I mean, this was like everything. And for the record, my first Star Wars toys was a Luke Skywalker, the one where the lightsaber pushed up through his hollow arm, and a land speeder. I got a land speeder, which my dad, who's a mechanic kind of inclined guy, he thought it was kind of cool that it actually had a spring-loaded suspension underneath, with the wheels, so it would kind of simulate hovering by bobbing a little bit. Anyway, but you could look it up on some toy channel or something. But yeah, seeing that, I was like, that was really cool, because now silly as this may sound to modern viewers, but me and my friends could go have our own little Star Wars adventures, and we could, what is a Jedi? Well, we didn't know. We just knew there were and kind of what they were about. So we're having Jedi adventures, and and was Darth Vader a Jedi? Was it whatever was going on? The adventures that they were going and having, and of course that's a big part of any kind of toy line, be it G.I. Joe, He-Man, so on, so on, so on. But at any rate, the sorry, I got a lot in my head, because, like I said, when I was up through my teenage years, it was a really, really big deal, Star Wars in general. And the fact that it's grown to spawn so much stuff, that it's become this thing, this juggernaut. If you ever get a chance to watch The People versus George Lucas, they make some very good points about at what point does something become so huge, not even pop culture, but just part of culture. I mean, obviously Star Wars was, not so much anymore, but it was George Lucas's property. It was his idea, and he could do what he wanted with it. Well, now it's Disney's to do what they want with it. But at what point, that has affected our lives for 40 odd years, do we have, what stake do we have in it? How much stake does it hold in your, how much rent, is it taken up in your head, in your heart, in your soul, whatever? The role-playing games, and the video games, and the books, and the movies, and the TV shows, and the fan films, and the fan fictions, and all this, to the extent that, again, like I said, I'm sorry, I keep just going off about it, because it's hard to tackle in a little 20, 25, whatever minute thing, because it is so big, and there's so much to it, and it has affected so many people's lives, good and bad, that we've made it such a part of ourselves and our culture, that there's this rich piece of immersive escapism, of going, to that galaxy far, far away a long time ago. And I know I'm going over a little bit, and I'm running a little bit, and my crew here is like, oh, hey, dude, camera's overheating. But like I always say, I am somewhat of a professional at this, and however, as always, I really enthusiastically suggest you try this at home. Whether you've got the remakes, the original, copied off a Japanese Laserdisc, or, VHS tapes, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you about prequel versus sequel versus The expanded universe, the contracted universe, the cartoons, droids, Ewoks, whatever. there's a piece of it out there that you can find. Dashing adventures, great heroes, spills, chills, thrills, all that. There's this perfect backdrop for having all this great stuff. Excuse me. So how long I've been sitting here. But go out. If you haven't seen it before, go for it. You don't have to pick the movies, like I said. Pick a novel, pick a comic. Probably don't want to start with the holiday special. But eventually you'll get there eventually. Everyone gets there eventually. Everyone gets there. Heck, there are local lightsaber fighting leagues out there. I kid you not. People will get together, and do that thing, and they enjoy it on that level. There's the 501st, which is a stormtrooper cosplay. They get out there in their uniforms and their armor, and they do a lot of charity work and a lot of cool stuff. And Mandalorian cosplay stuff has been going on for a while. I'm sure it's huge right now because of the TV show. And of course, Star Wars itself, it just has reams and reams and reams of cosplayers, thousands of them across the country. Something you might be interested in. I got a couple friends who do 501st and have a great time with it. Go out there, check it out, and if you haven't checked in a while, hey, go back, try and hey, what was something really cool I liked about Star Wars, and go back and check it out again. But as I'm running over here, I could go on. I seriously could, and I really can't speak enough to the concepts of immersion and to just how great it was throughout many different periods of my life. Hitting the first movies when I was a little kid, hitting the expanded galaxy, in my teens and early 20s, and going back and revisiting it and seeing stuff at cons and doing the tabletop RPG and doing the many video games and MMOs, that have happened, and all these different ways of accessing, this particular flavor of escapism. However, so again, like I said, try this at home. Go out and do it. And, I'll throw a 501st link and something in the description, whatnot. Go ahead and give it a click and, and have a look. And if you are clicking on stuff, if you haven't already done so, I would really appreciate it if you could click on the subscribe button if you haven't done it already. If you have, hey, try giving me a like. That always feels good, There's also a little bell down around somewhere that will let you know when new videos are coming out. I'm trying to drop them every Monday, but things are getting a little more elaborate with my setup and with my editing and stuff. So I'm there might be some gaps. I have to take some time and shoot a whole bunch of stuff at one time, and then cut it up and all that. I gotta get better about that. But I do want to say that I really, really do appreciate you watching this video. I do appreciate you spending this time with me and allowing me to show how much I love Star Wars and the world that it's in, and to say that I do love you guys individually and collectively. And all these cool things that we do, all these cool things that we experiment with. Until the next session, keep rolling those dice, clicking those mice. And honestly, what kid doesn't want to grow up to be a Jedi?